Hey everyone, Spicy Toast Gaming here. Hope you're having a great day. Hope this video can make it a little bit better for you. Today we have another Riot interview with Tyler Morgan. We were able to go over and talk a lot about the new event, potentially what is happening in next patch, as well as going over some features like the target farming system, monthly challenges, as well as the potential of some more rare relics and much more. I hope you enjoyed, and let's get into it. Hey everyone, Spicy Toast Gaming here, and today we're joined by senior game designer Tyler Morgan, also known as Riot Dirtle. Tyler, thank you for making the time to do this interview.
Anytime.
All right, let's jump right into it. So up first, this patch has been great so far, but this is just the Arcane prologue. So can we expect the story to continue next patch as well?
There'll be one more Arcane patch after this.
Awesome. So since that's another Arcane patch, we can expect some more content being added to the Legends of Arcane event.
Yeah, so the existing adventures are all going to get 3 more slot rewards.
Awesome. That is really nice. It's been a very generous patch, being able to get, I think, the champions unlocked and all the way up to 4 stars just by playing the patch. So that is really nice. Another awesome thing this patch was the new teamwork modifier, which has been a lot of fun. Great way to kind of spice up your existing play pattern by getting other champions star powers, including up to 6 stars. That being said, I was a little surprised that the normal powers are kind of still in the pool of available upgrades. Can you give some insight on why you decided to leave those in?
Yeah, so the way we normally design star powers is that approximately the first star power should be about a rare, the second star power should be about a common plus a mana gem, and then the third one should be about an epic. So we first tried it with just all the powers in the pool, just like normally alongside other things, but you ended up wanting to pick the 2s more often for the mana gem than actually for the abilities, so that wasn't super fun. So then we tried taking the 2s out, which meant that we just had 1s and 3s. So originally those ones were rares, as they normally are, but that meant that you were, since most of the powers you see in a run are going to be common, that meant most of the powers that you were seeing in a normal run weren't any different than the powers that you normally saw. You were still getting, when I summon an ally, I give it +1/+1 this round, over and over and over. So the event didn't really feel as different as we wanted it to. Whereas the rare pool is much spicier. There's a lot more desirable sort of synergistic things there. So we tried it as bringing the 1 stars down to common, and that did a pretty good job of making sure that every pick that you saw had a champion power in it, and that it felt like a much more pervasive, game-changing experience than it did when we were swapping them with the rares. I think the ideal version of this is probably we get a way to extract the mana gem from the 2-star and separate those, and then use those as the common pools and the 1 stars as the rare pools. But we didn't have time to do that for this one.
Okay, good to know. So this could possibly return in the future with sort of those 2 stars being added in potentially.
Potentially, yeah.
Okay, cool. That'll be fun if that can happen. It is kind of crazy how many new adventures we got in this patch, but the bosses and regions do seem a little bit random, at least at first. Can you give us any insight into why they were chosen, and if maybe they somehow tie into the show?
Yeah, outside of the Warwick adventure, they were pretty agnostic to the show. We wanted to have a ladder up of stars, and so we only have so many encounters at 1.5 stars, so many encounters at 2.5 stars, or rather, only encounters from specific regions. So we sort of had to span the regions if we wanted to have a nice spread of stars for the adventures without making a ton of new encounters, because we wouldn't have had time to make these out of totally new stuff. Also, if we tried to do everything Arcane, then that would have meant that almost everything would have been some combination of Piltover, Zon, and Noxus, and that probably would not have been a great experience.
Okay, yeah, I was a little surprised that I don't think we got any Noxus regions for this time.
Yeah, I mean, that was just Mbessa was already in the Warwick adventure, so we didn't have a lot of great characters to include there.
Makes sense, since yeah, she is the mini boss. So the Arcane event ends after the next patch. Will all of these new adventures, teamwork modifier, all of that also be leaving with the event?
They will be leaving, but only temporarily. So our plan with events is to have them come, stay for 2 months, and then come back after some amount of time. So eventually they'll be added to the map permanently. And so that's sort of time for us to take things down, polish what didn't work, and figure out what we want to do with them long term. But
awesome.
Yeah, the good news is that when we have stuff that players like out of the event, we'll try and find some ways to incorporate it into normal adventures afterwards. So in 6.1, we should be adding a few little sprinkles of what teamwork is back to normal adventures.
Fun. I guess that's a good way to add in new content, and I guess kind of do like a alpha or beta test to see what players like, and then take it back to the drawing board and slightly adjust it to make it a permanent addition to the game.
Mm-hmm.
So I think you kind of answered this in the last one, but we're going to see similar events like this happening in the future?
Yeah, that's the plan. The rough schedule that we're looking for is to have about 4 events per year.
Nice. That should be pretty fun. I think as far as your first event goes, at least in the last long while, this has been a pretty great and fun addition to the game.
Nice. I'm glad. Yeah, it was the first time that we play tested it. It just like there just wasn't negative feedback. Like normally design is very iterative. Like play test this will be like it's trash in all this ways. Okay, cool. We polish it up, and this is just like, nah, it's fun. Put it in the game. Okay, it's in the game now.
Good to know. Well, moving on a little bit, or switching gears, I want to briefly talk about the Eric Shen interview that he did with Sunny, which great interview. I'll try to link that down below if I can remember, but highly recommend everyone check it out if they haven't already. But in that interview, he mentioned how Warwick and Mbessa, they weren't going to have voiceovers or a unique level up animation, as the team was just trying to get content out to the players. But he said that this was going to be a conversation and that the devs were listening to feedback from the community, and that might change their priority. Now these champions have released. What are your thoughts on the feedback you've been getting, and does the team plan on changing its approach to new champions in the future?
Yeah, we definitely heard the feedback loud and clear, and we're currently talking about what we can do differently in the future.
Is it possible that in the future Warwick and Mbessa could get voice lines or cinematic retroactively?
Potentially, yeah, that is absolutely on the table.
Awesome. One other kind of update that we've been looking for is any update on the target farming system that would let players earn some of the paid relics in the game. I know this was talked about a little while ago, but I don't think we've had any updates for a couple months.
Yeah, we are still working on it. It is one of our top priorities. It's not going to fit into 5.12, but it is something that we're prioritizing very highly. Care a lot about getting it in as soon as possible.
So yeah, it won't be out this year, but it should try to be out early-ish next year?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, look forward to that. I think it's going to be one of the best additions to the game, because that's kind of one of the only things I think holding the game back right now. And I think once that comes in, it's going to be really helping the game just get elevated to new heights.
Mm-hmm.
Moving on then to briefly talk about the monthly challenges. So this has been kind of a staple for the game for quite a while, and I'm just kind of wondering, is the team still happy with them? Any plans to update them, or maybe make like a nightmare version of the monthly challenges?
Yeah, so I think we're happy with them as they are. They aren't the highest played game mode, or rather, they're the lowest played game mode by a pretty significant margin, and we get pretty mixed feedback on them consistently. So probably not adding a lot to that in the near future. We're definitely much more focused on adding more things like events that more players will experience.
Okay, good to know. Talking about some relics then briefly. So we've been getting a lot of epic relics, which are a lot of fun, but it's been a little bit since we've had any rare relics. So can we expect to maybe get some rare relics added to the game into the nearest future?
Potentially. So the way that we were, or the sort of groove that we'd settled into, was adding new rare relics when we added new big mechanics to the game. Like we added utmost despair when we added Gloom, for example. But we add many fewer mechanics to the game now, so we don't have as clear a cadence to do that. But when we feel like we have a cool idea for one, we will absolutely do them.
Okay, awesome. Because yeah, any way to further expand on the like build crafting or theory crafting is always a lot of fun and kind of my favorite part of the game.
Mhm.
Briefly touching on then constellations. So the constellations overall, I think, have been a great addition to the game, but I think some champions, especially the like initial batch, maybe didn't land or aren't doing quite as well as expected, such as maybe like the Samira 6-star or maybe the Volibear 4th star. Any chance that the team might go back and adjust or maybe buff some of the champions that are underperforming?
Yeah, it's a little bit of a difficult space because people can literally buy things like Champions 4 stars. So it is a little bit tough to like swap one out directly for something else because some players literally said, I want this, I'm paying for this directly. But I do have some ideas about how we could potentially navigate that in the future. But it is a little bit complicated, and it's not something that we currently have on the slate.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's hard to change things that people potentially spent real money on and not just something else in the game that everyone has. Yeah, that makes sense. But that was the last question. So unless there's anything else you wanted to add, we can wrap things up.
No, that's it. Thank you very much for having me.
All right, well then, thank you, Tyler, for the interview. Thank you all for watching and continuing to support the game. I hope you all have a great rest of your day.